Now imagine, so my mom said to me when I was a kid, she said, finish your plate because... Now, I got to go to Africa, and I got to see some of those starving kids. Now, imagine what I say to Carter and Graham when I see them. Ray, imagine this. So I upped it up, okay? I upped the ante. I'm like, Carter, Graham, finish your plate. I've seen the starving kids in Africa. You see, and I still don't think Carter and Graham get it, because this isn't just about finishing your broccoli or your spinach. It's about perspective and how much we've been given. We heard about the loaves and the fishes, and how God will multiply what we have and what we use. This is one of my favorite readings as well. This is John 6:22 through 40. The next day, and this was after this, the next day, the crowd that had stayed on the opposite shore of the lake realized that only one boat had been there, and that Jesus had not entered it with his disciples. Jesus wasn't around, but that they had gone away alone. Once the crowd realized that neither Jesus nor his disciples were there, they got into the boats and they went to look for Jesus. They went to try to find him. When they found him on the other side of the lake, they asked him, Rabbi, when did you get here? Jesus answered, very truly, I tell you, you are looking for me, not because of the signs that you saw I performed, but because you ate the loaves and had your fill. Do not work for food that spoils, but work for food that endures eternal life, which the Son of Man will give to you. For on him, God the Father placed his seal of approval. Then they asked him, what must we do that God requires? What should we do? And Jesus answered, the work of God is this, to believe in the one who he has sent, to believe in Jesus. This is your work. So they asked him, what sign? I want to see a sign. What sign will you give that we may see and believe you? What will you do? Our ancestors ate manna in the wilderness. He gave them bread from heaven to eat. And Jesus said to them, very truly I will tell you, it was not Moses who has given the bread from heaven, but it was my Father who gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is the bread that comes down from heaven and gives life to this world. Sir, they said, always give us the bread. Always give us nourishment. And he does this, but we don't always see it. It's on our plates, but we don't always see it. Then Jesus declared, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. But as I told you, you have seen me, and you still do not believe. All those the Father gives me will come to me, and whoever comes to me, I will never drive away. Whoever comes to Jesus, he will never push away. For I have come down from heaven not to do my will, but to do the will of him who sent me. And this is the will of him who sent me, that I shall lose none of those he has given me, but raise them up on the last day. For my Father's will is that everyone who looks to the Son and believes in him shall have eternal life, and I will raise them up on the last day. See, to me, if you look at it, this is about perspective. It's about taking advantage of what we have. It's not just about the loaves and the fishes and multiplying, but look at it the other way. We come to Jesus, and it's our responsibility to use what he has given us. Because if we get all this manna and all this bread all over, but we don't eat it, that's our responsibility. That's perspective, to finish our plate, to take what God has given us and to use that. Some perspective for you. Do you know that, so I said, you don't have to go to Africa to gain perspective in this world. Now, certainly it helps, because if you go to Africa and you see those little kids who are hungry and looking for water, that'll catch you up on perspective real quick, but you don't have to go there. Do you know that according to compassion.org, almost half of the population of the world lives on less than $5 per day? Almost half of the population of the world lives on less than $5 per day for their family. And you know that if you get up in the morning and you only have $5, do you know what most of your day, what you do for most of your day? What are you searching for, Todd? You're searching for food, water, someplace to live. I mean, that's almost half of our world. Their main focus of the day is looking for water and food. 80% of the world lives on less than $10 per day. Less than $10 per day. And this is like part of the reason when we went to Damka, and Big Blaine and I, we'd finish these big bottles of water, and because we're so thirsty, and he almost felt a little bit embarrassed because we're just drained, just falling off of our faces. We're like, oh, it's so hot. And we look, and like all these kids are looking at us, and it took us a while to figure this out, but there's no garbage because there's nothing to throw away in Damka. They just have this pit, and it's just got like leftover like stuff from the fire. And so we'd throw those water bottles in the pit, and then the little kids would fight over them. Fight over a water bottle. They're not even fighting over the water they're fighting over the water bottle. And this is perspective. This is what our world, and it's not like, I'm not mad at us, but it makes me really crazy that we become so complacent. And I know those statistics in the world, and most people won't go to Africa, but you don't have to go to Africa to get a perspective and to understand. Now, I don't know about everyone's household, but this is a common way. Like, I could wake up on a Monday morning in Iowa, and let's say even in February. And I've done a bunch of research, and there's a woman named Barbara Frederick who's done a ton of research on perspective. And what Barbara said is, she said to have good perspective, you need to have 3 good thoughts for each bad thought that you have. Are you with me, church? So you need to have, the ratio is 3 to 1. You need to have 3 positive thoughts for each negative thought that you have to have good perspective, to have a mostly positive perspective. The ratio is 3 to 1. You got that? 3 to 1? Trevor, you got 3 to 1. 3 to 1, okay. 3 to 1. Now, this is very common, I believe, and I've had a lot of people tell me this, and it's easy to wake up like this in February. Think of February, and I know that's a ways away, but it's really not that far. February's coming. So, like, you're in bed, and your alarm goes off. And even before you open your eyes, we're like, oh, it's Monday. See, there's one negative thought. And you're like, oh, I got to go to work. So you don't even have your eyes open yet. And you're like, what? I heard it's cold outside. Oh, is that my kids? Oh, it's picture day. Gosh. Oh, that's Joey. Now, I can't do that next service because she's going to be sitting right there. So got to think of something else. Like, okay, how many negative thoughts, Patty, don't tell her either, okay? How many negative thoughts is that? Before I even open my eyes, how many is that? 5. According to the 3 to 1 ratio, Trevor, 5 negative thoughts. How many positive thoughts do we have to have? This is your big moment to counteract those 5 positive thoughts. 3 to 1. 15, he got it. Give Trevor a great big round of applause. He got it. It's not magic. We did not do this before, did we? No. 15 positive thoughts to counteract those 5 negative thoughts. If you start your day before you even open your eyes with 5 thoughts like that, where the heck are you going to find 15 good thoughts in the next couple minutes? It's not going to happen, is it? Do you see how that can snowball real quickly? You're not going to, if that's the way you start, it's going to be very hard to find 15 positive thoughts. Now, how could you start your day when you got your eyes closed and your alarm goes off? And you wake up? What could happen? What could you say? I woke up. I was telling a story like this a couple months ago, and there was an experienced gentleman. I found out later he was 93, that he came to the seminar that I was leading. And he raised his hand, and I've made it a rule anytime I'm speaking, anytime I have a microphone, and an experienced person, let's say 90 or so, raises their hand, I'm going to stop whatever I'm doing, and I'm going to call on them and listen to them. It's just one of my theories. So he stood up, and he goes, I want to tell you how my day started. He said, The alarm went off. The first thing I said is, he said, I'm alive. Or I'm like, cool, because we've heard that before. He goes, then I got dressed. I'm like, okay, keep coming. I'm like, come on. He goes, I had breakfast. Okay. He goes, and I drove to this seminar. I'm like, wow. He goes, the best part? He goes, I remembered all of that. But this is how it is. So our eyes are closed, the alarm goes off. You could say, what? I'm alive. That's a good thought. And then we're like, oh, it's Monday. It's okay to think, oh, it's Monday, but quickly you got to get some positive thoughts. You'd be like, hey, I'm up. I can get going. And then you're like, oh, I got to go to work. What could you say differently for that? Yeah, I got a job. Now, I'm not saying you got to be Skippy and be like, woohoo, I get to go to work tonight. I'm so excited, because I've done some crappy jobs, and I'm not always excited to go, but you're like, I got a job. Like, a lot of people would like to have your job, I'm telling you. And then you think, oh, it's cold outside. What could you say real quick? Yeah, right? Most of us, if you're in this room, most of you in this room, we can like waddle over to the thermostat, can't we? And that's like all we got to do. Isn't that embarrassing? Talk about perspective. We move over to the thermostat. If it's too hot in our house, we turn it down. If it's too cold, what do? Turn it up. And there's some of you right now who are very embarrassed because you don't even have to get your butt out of bed. You got the app on your phone, Travis. Don't you? You do. I know you do. I mean, we don't even have to get out of bed. And then you're like, oh, my kids. Oh, it's picture day. I got kids? Like someone mated with me and I have kids and she's still here. That's a win, right? I mean, you see how you have to change this. You can't let this happen to us and let it roll. And I want to tell you this story. I did another program right after we got back from Domka. So we got back from Domka. I had a couple days. I jumped on a plane and I flew to San Antonio. And I spoke at a program of electrical contract dudes. They own electrical contracting companies. Okay, so there's 200 dudes in a room and like 4 girls and 4 women. And they were talking, and I was talking to him about this, and this guy named Jeff, he was sitting like right there. He stood up, he goes, Matt, this is all great in theory, but it doesn't work. He's like, I just get so mad, and I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, small things set me off, and it ruins my whole day and my whole week and sometimes my whole month. I'm like, Jeff, what's up? Like, give me an example. He goes, I got the perfect example for you. He said, last week, I got stuck in traffic on my way to an appointment, and it was a big appointment, and that just like ruined my whole week. He says, what's the silver bullet? What do I do? What do I need to do to like gain this perspective? Give me the one thing. And before I went to Africa, here's how I would have answered that question. I've been like, Jeff, dude, you got to get a time management plan. You got to start organizing your time. Get a Franklin planner on your phone, or you just got to get up early. This is how I would have answered it, and I didn't know what to say because I'd just been to Africa with the starving kids. And I looked at Jeff, and I'm like, dude, I said, you got to finish your plate. And like everyone looked at me, and they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you got to finish your plate. He goes, that does not make any sense, whatever. And I'm like, it's perspective. And like the whole room, 200 tough guys wearing Carhartts just kind of got settled down. And I'm like, his perspective, I'm like, you're sitting in your new $30,000 truck, aren't you, stuck in traffic? See how it got a little quieter? And I said, you got Wi-Fi in your truck or your cell phone? Got a little quieter. I said, you got temperature control in your truck, don't you? He's sitting there like radio X, and it got a little quieter. And I said, let me guess, Jeff. Let me guess, man. You're on the way to an appointment that's probably worth thousands of dollars. Hey, it got a little quieter. All these big tough guys, they got a little quieter. And I said, okay, let me go a little further. You probably had the appointment downtown, but you live out in the suburbs in your $500,000 house because you don't want to live downtown, so you had to commute. See how it got quieter? A little bit quieter? That's perspective. That's perspective. And then after the program, I'm standing up here talking to a few people. I can see Jeff, he's coming over. And he was kind of a big guy, tall. So he's like a big guy. And he comes up, I'm like, oh boy. He didn't look real happy. And He goes, Matt, he goes, you're wrong. I'm like, okay, because I've been wrong lots of times, so I know how this goes. I'm looking for an exit or something. He goes, you're wrong. I'm like, all right, Jeff, maybe it didn't work out right. I've never said that before. I'm sorry. He goes, no, you're wrong. Like, what are you wrong? What do you mean? He says, I have a $60,000 truck. He goes, the appointment I was on my way to see was worth over $1 million to our company. He goes, and I live in a $2 million house, not a $500,000. It's like, you don't know the price of houses around here. But you see the perspective. See, we tend to lose that very easily in our country because we get complacent. And it's not just our country, it's other countries where I've traveled and where I've worked. But you got to look at your Grandview plate. Look at all that we have to offer here. And it's overflowing. And I know it can get overwhelming sometimes because there's so much to do. But I want you to stick this on your fridge. I want you to circle a couple things. Challenge yourself to do something different in the next 3 months that you haven't done. Challenge yourself to do it. It doesn't mean you have to sign up and go to Africa in February. That's not what I'm talking about. But you can join a cell group. You can paddle. You can teach Sunday school. You can help with crew night. Gosh, all you got to do is help cook some dino nuggets once a month or something. Like, is that hard? Look at all that's on our plate. And I want you to remember that when you're sitting in your bed or on the couch and it's not cool enough in your house, so you pull out your phone and use the app to make it cooler in your house. We've been given so much, and I'm not mad at us about that. But it's a huge responsibility for us. Since we've been given so much, we have to give back. And all the hate that's in the world right now that we see, there's 3 ways I've been thinking about how do we counteract that? What do we do? We've been saying it forever. It says it right. You know, it's our theme. Love God, love others, and serve the world. That's what it takes for all the hate in the world to counteract that. And to me, simply what that means is finish your plate. Finish your plate. If we could bow our heads and in one voice say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses. Forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And is the kingdom